Prime Minister has welcomed the results from a trial of the vaccine Novavax, which offers 89% protection against COVID-19.
The UK has secured 60 million doses of the jab, which will be manufactured in Stockton-on-Tees and could further boost the country's vaccination programme. Now, former head of the UK's vaccine task force, Kate Bingham, is here. Kate, good morning to you. I'm just reading about you on page 7 of The Times, and there is a spectacular sort of story about how you were asked to do that job and, according to the Times, how amazingly well you did at it. I'll just read the bit. When Boris Johnson called Kate Bingham last April and asked her to lead Britain's vaccine task force, the message was simple: stop people from dying. And it goes on to say that within a fortnight, you'd drawn up a list of 23 vaccines from 4 different vaccine technologies. And clearly, Kate, this morning is a time for you to feel pretty pleased, I suppose, given all the bleak news, that the vaccines that you went for and the orders that we put in has put us right ahead of the queue in the whole of Europe. So congratulations first, I suppose, and we haven't said that very often to anybody on this show, but congratulations to you. How do you feel this morning, knowing that the Novavax one is also now one that's on the list that perhaps come spring or summer we can use?
So thank you. And after all the rather terrible news of the deaths that we've seen over the last few weeks, actually the news last night was just phenomenal, and I'm just incredibly happy. And I'm actually a participant in the Novavax trial, so I'm especially happy that that trial has shown that the vaccine is so effective, not only against the original variant, but especially against both the Kent variant that we've seen, the new variant in the UK, as well as the South African variant, which is one of definite concern. So the fact that we're seeing efficacy from this vaccine is one that should give us a lot of cause for optimism.
Undoubtedly. We can see on our screen that there's over 7 million, nearly 7.5 million people have been vaccinated, which is a real credit to the entire team that are running the vaccine programme and actually getting those vaccines out there. However, there has been a sort of a problem with supply, which I'm sure is something that you have all concerned yourself with, because it's one thing to order the vaccines in, it's another to get them out and get them jabbed into people's arms. I think we're down 21% from where we were last week in terms of supply and in terms of vaccine numbers. How much of a concern is that, Kate, with regards to making sure we hit the targets that the government has promised that we will hit?
So, Ben, it's a fair question. And the aspect of manufacturing is that this is incredibly complicated. These are vaccines that are being grown in mammalian cells at very large quantities. So the scale up is basically, we've started at an academic bench scale, and that's now being scaled into 1,000-litre bioreactor scales. And the fact is, it's highly complex, non-linear, and relatively non-predictable. And of course, you have to have a very, very consistent, stable process to make vaccines. So I'm not in the engine room anymore, so I don't know the details of how that's going. But it's not like producing PPE equipment.
No,
this is something that is highly complex and difficult.
Understandably, but was the expectation, were these moments of problem with the supply, I think some of our politicians have called it bumpy measures, were these preempted? Is this something that had been considered? Because, of course, we're getting pressure from the EU now because we know that they're having problems with their supply, and they're suggesting that maybe some of the UK supply of vaccine needs to be sent over to Europe, or even they might block some of those supplies.
The Pfizer one
coming from Belgium coming through because they are so short.
It just goes back to the complexity of the manufacturing process. So the people that we've got working throughout the supply chains and the different companies involved are enormous experts. They are literally working around the clock. And it is just something that's not that predictable. This is a process that normally takes years to put in place. So the fact that this has been done in months is something to absolutely congratulate the different companies involved and to thank them rather than beat them up, because this is a really, really complicated, difficult process.
And what would you say to those who this morning are reading the headlines, and they are on the front of the papers this morning, about the German panel rejecting the Oxford vaccine and saying that it's for over 65s, not for 16 to 65s, but for over 65s, the most vulnerable group, saying that there isn't enough evidence there to say that it is effective. That was one of the vaccines that you very quickly decided was the one that you'd put an order in for. And we are using it on the over 65s. There will be concern this morning from those citizens who have got, vaccines booked, and they will hear that and think, if it's not good enough for the Germans, why are we using it for our over 65s?
The evidence of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in the over 65s is that it is safe and it is effective, and that anybody who's offered a vaccine should take the vaccine. The Germans are making a point that they would like more data. Well, of course, everybody would like more data, but the fact is we've got great data. The MHRA have approved it, the JCVI have recommended it, and anybody who I know who is offered a Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, I will recommend they take it because it is safe and effective.
Kate, thank you for joining us. Just one quick question. Considering you've done such a brilliant job, can we ask why you're not still there, you're not still involved? Because it's ongoing and we want you to be at the heart of these things. We want these great industry...
Did you try and open schools again?
Yeah, is there anything else you can do for the government?
Do other things.
You are funny. Well, I'm afraid I've got a day job. So when the Prime Minister asked me to step in, my condition was that I did it for 6 months because that was all I could take off my role building companies, developing new medicines for patients. And so, fortunately, my partners stepped in and took up my role at SV, and I've now returned. So the team that we have running the Vaccine Task Force, led by Clive Dix, are superb. These guys absolutely know what they're doing, and I have no hesitation that this is going to go from strength to strength. And
do you believe that the vaccine is, the vaccines, there's 4 of them now that we may have our hands on, that is the only way out of this for this country now? Without the vaccine and without huge take-up, we're talking about minority ethnic groups not taking it up as quickly as white groups. What's your message, really, about if we don't take the vaccine, will we ever get out of this situation?
We really need to take the vaccine. I mean, there will obviously be non-pharmacological measures and we can continue with social distancing, but I think everyone has recognised that that is just too long and too difficult. And vaccines is the solution, and they will continue to be the solution. So these vaccines will need to be tweaked as the viruses mutate. And again, the UK is incredibly well set up to do that. We've got both our clinical trials literally leading the world in terms of how well they've been run and how quickly we've been able to enrol people into the trials. And we've got supply chains now across the country that can manufacture all the different vaccine types. So we will need to assume that we'll need to be vaccinated like flu shots against the coronavirus. Okay. And we're very well set up to do so. And please, all your listeners, if you're offered a vaccine, please take it.
Yeah. Listeners and viewers, Kate, we're on telly. But it's lovely to see you this morning, and thank you for all your hard work, because clearly you've had a huge impact on where we are right now. And as you rightly say, your team as well have done a cracking job, and we want that to continue. So thank you for joining us.